Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Monkey D. Luffy versus the World. The thesis statement for this podcast is, my name is Reece. I'm a Shonen Jump head. I've read everything from Toriko, Rurouni Kenshin, Saint Seiya. I've read a lot of the classics, and I'm getting my good friend here, Mr. Wesley. Say hi.
Hello, everybody.
He has never read One Piece before. And we are going to do a really fun thing where me, who's currently caught up on One Piece, and him, who basically knows nothing, are going to go through the series again. I'm going to guide him through this wonderful modern epic, and we'll see how my opinions change and how his opinions form.
It's going to be a good time.
So I guess, Wesley, first things first, what experience at all, if any, do you have with One Piece?
That's a good question, sir. One Piece is not something that I have any ample experience with. I am a bit of a Shonen Jump head, but obviously not as much as you. I have been more into modern anime and manga releases. I think my only experience ever with One Piece as a child or in high school was occasionally catching episodes here or there, on different streaming services, on different TV networks, but I could not tell you a single thing from any of those. I think just through cultural osmosis, I kind of know the main cast and some themes and stuff like that. And I also have some wonderful cousins that I'm pretty close with, and they are big One Piece heads. They've always wanted me to read it. I have always been a little intimidated by the overwhelming length of the series, so I've not jumped into it. But in terms of what I know about the series, I'd probably give it like a 1 to 2 out of 10. Like I knew going into this, I knew the very basics, and that was it.
The sort of onus for this series starting, because I feel like starting One Piece is something that so many people like want to do and then go, it's kind of like too much of a commitment.
That's very true.
The start of this journey specifically was me showing you Baron Omatsuri.
Yes.
The one of very few, I've seen like 3 or 4 One Piece movies, and I was very interested in this one specifically because it's like an actual movie and not just like fan service. At least that's what I'd heard, and we both loved it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think both of us being kind of film guys as well. I think you point out the fact that like this is like a movie. Like it feels like a director's vision, which is very cool.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they put their quote animation budget into like the good character acting, not like hype Sakuga moments.
Exactly.
To me, it showed that they had their priorities on straight.
True. Agreed.
But so I have to ask: have you been spoiled on anything?
I think the answer is probably yes, but I know so little that I don't know if I'd be able to attach those ideas to like any actual plot devices. I think basically if you have seen like modern figures on social media, I feel like people are posting those a lot. So I've seen like some modern outfits that the characters wear, or like styles that they take on, but I know very little of the actual ramifications of why they're wearing that or why they're doing that. So honestly, besides like knowing the main cast exists, I basically know nothing.
That's pretty great, because I think part of the fun of this wonderful podcast will be you getting to be like, oh wow, I didn't know this happened. I wonder what's gonna happen next. As I like giggle like a schoolgirl.
Very true.
Well, I think we just gotta start this off by talking about the very first arc, Romance Dawn, because this lovely episode will be Romance Dawn and Orange Town.
I'm very excited.
And I will be putting up the report cards we made, because something I had the pleasure of doing was making report cards for each of us as just sort of our post-arc thoughts. And I'll be putting those on screen as we talk here.
Yes.
But I guess break me down on your initial thoughts on Romance Dawn.
Yeah, I think Romance Dawn was unironically very good. I think, as we get into this a little bit more, I think we'll both have some differing opinions just based on like the context that you have, but honestly, of the manga first chapters and first arcs that I've read, I feel like this one was already much more consistent in quality and artistry, more so than maybe any other manga I've read. I of course there's a few exceptions, but I think genuinely I was very impressed by how much I enjoyed this first arc.
Going back to these, like the very first chapter, like it's crazy how much of like a vision it feels like Oda already has.
Right, exactly. It's really cool.
Like, I mean, One Piece, even 1,000 chapters later, doesn't even feel that different from what we're getting right now, which is crazy.
That is crazy to hear.
I say that as a
like
strength, not a weakness. Exactly. I guess honestly, it's kind of the first chapter is basically a mini arc in and of itself. I guess, like, what did you think of that little Luffy's past arc?
I thought that was really cool. I was kind of flipping through some other manga that I have copies of before we started recording this, and of course these are both modern examples. We'll probably talk about this more later on, but I am a very big JJK and Chainsaw Man fan. And looking through Fujimoto's work on Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man and with Gege on JJK, it's very interesting that we're just kind of thrown into the modern scape of the story. And I thought it was a really cool change of pace. Even thinking about stuff like Bleach, where just kind of, in contrast to all of those, we're just kind of getting a really good foundation for the story by seeing this past arc, and I really appreciated that difference. I think it was a really good tone setter.
I think something I was thinking about literally right before we hopped on is like every other shonen is like, oh no, I'm brand new to this crazy world. Like, for example, I mean, I love Bleach, but Bleach it does the trope that every movie does of like, I've never been to this Soul Reaper world.
Right.
And it's like, that's like, a narrative tool to be like, okay, well, this is a really natural way to get like everyone familiar with your world and mechanics and whatnot. But I mean, this is just like throwing you in. They're not like, Luffy's not like, I've never seen a pirate before in my whole life.
That's true.
Like, you're just kind of like doing it. And I think that takes some serious writing chops.
Yeah, I agree. It shows a lot of forethought, especially with even just the pre-planning. As we talk about like the rest of this arc and potentially future arcs, I think it'll be very interesting for me to see for the first time and for you to see again, like how many seeds were sown in just this first chapter alone. Because honestly, even from the very little that we've read through this journey together, I think we've already seen like some of these seeds, some of these seeds sprouts, so to say.
I was gonna say, I think it's, as someone who already knows everything, it's very fun to be like, oh my god, they're setting this up, they're doing this, like, how much is being done with, like, in theory, like, I wouldn't call this an economical story. Like, I feel like it's not afraid to, like, take its time and have some fun.
Right.
But, like, I think it's like, not afraid to, like, take these moments and be like, like, I don't want to reveal anything, but, like, it's really interesting when you're like, okay, we're going to meet this character, and, like, obviously they'll come back in some capacity.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
I mean, I think this is jumping ahead of Romance Dawn to Orangetown, but, like, the fact that we're, like, chapter 1, here's Shanks, and then, like, the second arc, this guy, like, they're like, oh my god, you know Shanks, you little fucker?
True. And it's really cool to see the, not want to jump ahead too much, but I think it's really cool to see the parallel between getting past arcs for both Shanks and Luffy. I think that's a pretty cool balance that these two first arcs strike.
That is a very interesting point. It's kind of interesting how both of these people's childhoods was shaped by Shanks and his actions.
This is true.
Sorry, back to Romance Dawn.
Of course.
I also got to say the thing that really impressed me, because you and I are both learning how to draw right now.
Mm-hmm.
The art is so expressive and, like, has such a distinct style.
True. It really does.
Like, we both have a one of our categories on the report card is, like, basically favorite art moment.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that, like, opening chapter punch where he just punches the Sea King and just, like, it's so, like, the perspective is so good.
Yeah.
And, like, it's so, like, pow, like it feels like so cartoony.
I agree. I was gonna ask, because I genuinely don't know the answer, but is this, has Oda worked? Did Oda work on any other manga or any other projects before this? I'm assuming
I
he was
know
probably like a manga, like an assistant or something like that. But
Yes, he was an assistant on, I believe, Rurouni Kenshin, and no, I think it was Kinnikuman,
oh, gotcha.
aka Ultimate Muscle for the English viewers out there.
True.
But I know he's best friends with the guy who made Rurouni Kenshin, and I'm not sure if he was an assistant on that, but I know for a fact he was an assistant on Kinnikuman, which is another like very cartoony, expressive manga with like that's pretty wacky. I've done my best to not talk about One Piece with you at all before this podcast, but I was very, very much a fan of the point you immediately made of like this is like a cartoony and like manga like inspired, like it's comic booky,
Yeah.
it's cartoony, in a way that pulls from Western influences that I don't really see often.
Yeah, I think as somebody that's grown up reading a lot of American comics and a lot of like cartoon strips, that kind of stuff, I think it's really cool to see that influence in his work. And I think maybe, you and I think maybe from my understanding, this first arc kind of gets a bad rap compared to the rest of it. But I think part of why I connected with it so quickly was just because of that tone that's set forth through the art style.
I think basically if you were like poll 1,000 people and say like what is One Piece's like biggest flaw, I think over half of them would say it starts so fucking slow. Like the start is agonizingly slow, and I think if you're already enjoying this, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna love this series.
That's good to hear.
Because there's actually been a big trend somewhat recently of a bunch of like literature YouTubers, like booktubers,
Yeah.
reading One Piece as people who've like never read manga before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty interesting is that they universally are like, no, this is like a good start. I like this.
That's interesting.
I think it's because if you're like a guy who loves shonen, you're just kind of looking for like hype moments and aura right off the bat.
That's true.
And this being like a little goofier and a little bit like it's trying to feel like an adventure. We're not like sprinting to the finish line. We're like, yeah, this is like a fucking 30-year long odyssey. We're gonna like take our time and set stuff up and like blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, honestly. When you first brought that up, I was about to say, like, man, I feel like this is a pretty bad first manga to get into. But after you bring that up, genuinely, I think you very quickly, like, reversed my opinion. Because, I don't know, man, I think the different influences and how the story starts genuinely make this have a lower barrier of entry than a lot of other manga that I've read.
I think something that's very interesting about people who aren't into anime, getting into anime, I'll keep this tangent short, is that you kind of have to like get acclimated to weird Japanese eccentricities.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's crazy to me that My Hero Academia kind of became the face of like normie manga because like Mineta gags I feel like would immediately turn off any like American viewer who's only seen like Ben 10 and Teen Titans.
Yeah.
And I think luckily, and for people who aren't really into anything Japanese culture related, this is like pretty, it doesn't have that many like, oh my god, we're gonna get like this really like esoteric and or like perverted gags or like really deep Japanese cultural like pulls.
Right.
Like I think like this is a manga that pretty explicitly wears its Western influence on its sleeve. I mean like it's about pirates, not like, I mean like even Bleach and Naruto, the other two of the big three, are like about Japanese things.
Yeah.
And this is like in theory such a like global, like this can appeal to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's cool. It's a big strength.
It's very interesting. I think Oda, I was actually thinking recently, like, is it like an unfair advantage that One Piece is not specifically courting like Japanese audiences? Like, does that in a way make it so much more like normie friendly, air quotes?
That is a good question. I mean, honestly, probably yes. I think that's a very good point.
Sorry, I think we're going on a tangent.
You're good. You're good. I mean, I think I think this is a good context to the discussion because
yeah,
I don't know. I think I don't know. Kind of jumping into the characters here. I think something that's cool about the characters in this first arc or at least something interesting, is that, like you said, there's I feel like there's not really any the characters don't necessarily feel very eccentric in a very traditional way to manga or even necessarily to cartoons.
It's kind of its own thing. It's its own feel.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's I think that's a very good strength of the character writing across the crew of characters that we've seen so far.
Of the characters introduced in just the first chapter, not even getting to the rest of the arc.
Yeah.
I guess what were your thoughts on like Shanks and Luffy? Like, what were your first impressions of these characters?
I think going to our little report card, I actually had Luffy as my arc MVP. I think I really connected with him right away, and I don't know. I think going between this contrast of like Western and Eastern media influence, I think Luffy is actually a very good example of a character that kind of strikes right down the middle. He feels very much like a traditional shonen character, but he also feels like he's right out of like a Saturday morning cartoon. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I think that like positivity really shines through, you know.
I think that's actually an incredibly good point. I once heard someone say pretty recently that Luffy is sort of this weird, like, he feels kind of anomalous to standard shonen protagonists, which I disagree with, actually, because I think goofy idiot but like strong-hearted and like good-willed is like pretty standard shonen fare.
Right.
Like, I see why they said that, but I couldn't agree. But they did have the take of Zoro is a more traditional shonen protagonist, sort of thrust into the side character spotlight. What do you think of that?
I think drawing on my current knowledge of Bleach, I think it's interesting that I think I kind of agree with that comparison. I think Zoro is almost like an Ichigo presence. I mean, I don't know. Do you agree with that? Is that too crazy of a claim to make?
I don't think so, just because I feel like if I were to think of the archetypical shonen protagonist, and there are obviously many different ways to do it.
Yeah.
I think on some level they do kind of have to be like, I mean, Goku-esque.
Yeah.
And obviously there are shonen before Dragon Ball. I mean, like Kenshiro is much more of a Zoro than a Luffy, for
Right.
example. But I think, like, to me, gun to my head, what is a shonen protagonist? It is like much more Luffy than Zoro. But like there are like some more serious, like, cool guy protagonists. I mean, like, this isn't shonen, but fucking the Sun Jin Woo from Solo Leveling is more of a Zoro.
That's very true. I mean,
Except hype moments in aura.
yeah, exactly. I mean, on that level, I think once again drawing to like a modern influence, I think Yuji from JJK is much more of a Luffy than a Zoro.
Absolutely. I was going to say, like, Luffy and Denji are not Luffy and Denji, fucking Denji and Yuji are way more Luffys than they are Zoros.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I think that is kind of interesting because, if anything, I think Chainsaw Man and JJK take more influence from something like Bleach. So it's interesting that they took so much inspiration from Luffy, or at least like on a surface level, they have similarities. Like
They're of the same, like, genetic strain.
yes. Exactly.
Or I guess I should say mimetic strain, because it's more of an idea. You know what I mean? Memes are the idea. Not memes as in, like, big chungus. Memes as in, like, ideas that are passed down.
There are some memes in common, man. Don't worry.
I like that interpretation. I think I put my sort of circling back to the report card, I put my arc MVP as Shanks.
Not a bad choice.
Just because I really like, I think it's such an interesting theme that, like, the first, like, moral or lesson of One Piece is letting your pride and ego get in the way of things is, like, incredibly foolish. That's such an interesting, like, first note for the series to start out with.
Yeah.
Like, the bandit, like, is his name Higuruma?
I didn't even put that together. I think you're right, though.
He's like, I'm the coolest guy. I'm gonna beat you up, Shanks. I'm gonna spill fucking alcohol all over you. Or I'm sure in, like, the English dub, it's like apple juice.
I think it is.
Oh no, he spilled my juice.
Maybe it was a glass of milk. I'm not sure.
um, but like, it's interesting that like I mean Oda is like literally like explaining. I mean, because it makes sense like that. Like Shanks is literally explaining this to a child. Like it's not. I'm not gonna say it's bad writing, but like Shanks is like, no, like I'm not gonna like kill this guy because he was like rude to me. Like I'll just laugh it off. Who cares?
Yeah.
And like I think if this were say solo leveling, or sorry to dunk on solo leveling, but like the obvious thing would have just been yeah, and then Shanks cuts him into 1,000,000,000,000 pieces and says, "Don't make fun of me or I'll kill you."
That's true.
And it's only Higuruma only gets his just desserts like when he's like, I'm gonna kill this child now.
Right. That is interesting.
And like, you know, it's not saying be passive or be like cowardly and let people walk all over you. It's just like, hey, you gotta like kind of like know when something is worth like fighting for and when something is just like not a big deal.
Yeah.
That's just interesting. And I like how Shanks is like he I think he's kind of a great microcosm of One Piece's identity in this arc, where he's very goofy. Like he's that really funny moment where he's like, "Oh my god, they took Luffy."
True.
Like he's got like a big heart and he's goofy, but he can be serious and like cool. Like he just is like straight up like, "Oh, he pulled a gun on me," and then like that he has like a Lucky Roo is the name of that big guy who just immediately teleports over and pops him in the head.
Oh yes, that was awesome.
I think that is like probably the coolest moment in early One Piece, where he's just like, "Oh, you shouldn't have pointed that. You shouldn't have pointed that at me," because like it just teleports next to him and shoots him in the head.
I know, it is very cool. I think a bit of a question that I have to pose to you, and maybe this is even like a early criticism that I have of the series, but I'm sure, I'm almost positive that this will be addressed later on, but I just like to get your opinion on it. I think it's interesting that, so we're introduced to this world, we see that pirates are like the thing in this universe, and our immediate interpretation of pirates are Shanks and his crew, which are like explicitly the good guys. And then we see a group of bandits that are explicitly bad guys. But in this universe, even in the first chapter, it's kind of shown that pirates are like not good. Because like, you know, pirates in real life are pretty bad, can be pretty bad guys.
There are some people who would contest you on that, but you are largely correct, yes.
Yeah. And I think it's I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting to kind of the framing of people, like the citizens in this universe being like, pirates are bad, or pirates have this bad rap, but then we're immediately introduced to pirates that are like a good presence on the story. I just think that's kind of I guess maybe it's not even a criticism. I just think it's kind of an interesting direction to go, because we do see bad pirates pretty soon after this, but I just thought that's kind of an interesting take, you know?
I mean, the first two arcs of the story, I think, do something very interesting in which, like, Arc 1, and not Chapter 1, but, like, Arc 1 of Romance Dawn.
Yeah.
Like, the villain is a corrupt Navy official who's just, like, torturing random people for no reason.
Exactly.
And, in fact, like, they're even, like, they have Zoro crucified for some reason. But, like, he's someone who actively hunts pirates. He's, like, not on their side, but he's, like, he's not literally Marine, but he's, like, on their side.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're just like, oh yeah, I forget exactly what Helmeppo's excuse was, but he was like, oh yeah, he like coughed blood on my shoes, so I'm gonna like crucify him.
True.
Or something. And it's so like we're immediately introduced to like Buggy, who is like a guy who's just like blowing up houses for fun. Because he's like, I'm just gonna do whatever I want, I'm a pirate. And then also like a corrupt Navy official.
Yeah.
But they cap off Romance Dawn with the Navy guys being like cool.
True.
Which is it's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Like, Kobe's dream is to be in the Navy, and like the Navy guys are like, look man, we know that you're friends with him, but like we don't care. Like, I mean, they care, like they procedurally have to care, but like that humanity shines through of like, look, we know that you're like a good person.
Yeah. And they even give Luffy and Zoro a salute as they row away.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. I think it's obviously I don't want to reveal too much, but I think I am definitely acknowledging your criticism, and I think it's a good observation.
I appreciate that.
My only note was I think One Piece is genuinely like 1,200 chapters long, and I don't think we ever in the entirety of it see another bandit, like mountain bandit.
That
Like,
is
what a weird, like, class of things to introduce us. Like, that's, like, the first villain in One Piece is some random guy.
that's true. That is pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. I just from my immediate analysis of Romance Dawn and Orangetown with that in mind is that like anybody can be good or bad in this world regardless of titles, which I think is kind of an interesting take, and I hope that's explored a little bit more in the future because I think it's definitely an interesting idea.
I mean, I definitely immediately kind of wondered, like, reading back on this, I was like, if Luffy had been, like, if Buggy had been there instead of Shanks, like, when he was a kid, would Luffy have just become someone who likes to blow up houses for fun, or is it sort of, like, it's deeper in him that he's, like, a good person?
Yeah, that is interesting.
Like, he goes, wow, I love using buggy balls to nuke townspeople, it's awesome.
That's true. I mean, hey, man, I think it's pretty cool, too, I won't lie.
Who's up buggying they ball?
Exactly.
Speaking of villains, I think this is I put my arc MVP as Shanks, but honestly, I think my arc MVP might have been Kobe.
That's interesting.
Because Kobe and honestly Helmeppo were like weirdly effective in this arc. Like when I first went through it, I don't remember like loving Kobe. I didn't like not like him. Like I was like, ugh, who's this soy boy cuck? I was more so just like oh, he's fine. But going back through, I did really like his characterization and dynamic with Luffy. And it's kind of a shame that he's sort of immediately like, all right, well, I'm staying here. Because I remember it was like, oh, I thought he was going to just like be with us. I was just going to hang.
Yeah. Yep. I think he's a very effective character. It's cool to see Luffy's personalities and ideals bounce off of this character, especially like this early on. It really cements Luffy's character pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Alvida is the most like, we didn't even mention Alvida because like who cares?
That's true.
But I thought it was crazy. And they're like, oh yeah, Kobe's been like our slave for the past 2 years. I was like, what?
I know.
2 years, even 2 years, just like sweeping floors what the hell?
That is insane.
But and then like that way that like he's just kind of like Luffy is sort of that like he's got that rebellious spirit of Kobe's like, look, let's just like do what she says, keep our heads down. He's like, no, she's stupid.
True.
And I think that's a great way to like immediately show the contrast between him and Kobe and just him as a character. Like I think Kobe being so timid and like go with the flow is the perfect like character to make Luffy pop. His perfect foil.
Exactly. I definitely agree.
And the way it makes Kobe sort of rise to the occasion is great.
Yeah. And I don't want to get into spoiler talk, but I do have it as one of my predictions going forward that we're definitely going to see Kobe some more. I think it would be a shame if we did not. I think seeing him in the future, like as a Navy official fighting Luffy, or even like being on his side, I think that'd be very interesting.
Who knows, man? Who knows? I won't say nothing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if I want to get to predictions yet because I think we still have more to talk about with Romance Dawn.
True.
But I mean, you gave this an A-. You were definitely a fan.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I think there's the kinds of media that I really appreciate are things that are very earnest. I feel like we've been talking about this a lot recently, where like something that's very sincere or very earnest, and it's either its presentation or its themes is like the sign of a writer really giving it their all. And I think that's definitely here, both in terms of presentation and thematically, story-wise. It feels like Oda really I mean, we said this earlier, but he really had a vision, and I mean, I think it's a damn good one. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm a simple man, but I think Luffy's stretch powers are very cool, and I appreciate the fact that like I feel like a lot of shonen protagonists, their power set is once again just for hype moments and aura. But Luffy's feels much more like I don't know, like something like Felix the Cat or Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which I love those kinds of characters. So it's cool to see a character like that plopped into a Shonen Jump universe.
I really like the elasticity, the rubberness, if you will, that Luffy's powers have versus, like, say, Reed Richards. Like, his powers aren't stretching. His powers are, like, rubber.
Yes, exactly.
Like, I remember, I love the moment where he's like, oh, I gotta climb this tower, and just shoots his arm up there, and then gets, like, rocketed up with it.
True.
It was great.
I agree.
Or when he, like, bounces the bullets back, or the cannonball back in Orange Town. Like, it was great.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's sort of this, I won't say when, but there's sort of this universally agreed upon point in which One Piece, like, air quotes, gets good.
Okay.
And the opinion I have, and many people have, is like, if you read this arc that's coming up eventually, and you don't like it, One Piece is not for you, and you're never gonna like it.
I see. Okay.
So the fact that, I was sort of wondering, like, would we have to get that far for you to, like, start enjoying this? But the fact that you're already like, no, like, I understand the vision, I like what it's going for, like, music to my ears.
I appreciate it. Reece, would you humor me if I gave a bit of a crazy take?
Go right ahead.
I think that these early One Piece arcs are very SpongeBob-esque.
Oh, just because they're sea related?
Well, of course there is that that similarity, but I think I'm trying to think of like the best way to articulate this, and I think people, especially these days, kids these days are always talking about like vibes in media, and I think just the way that the themes are presented through the presentation itself is very interesting. It's I think a good way to bring about this point is that the relationship between Luffy, Kobe, and Zoro, I'm not going to say that it's SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward, but do you kind of see what I'm saying? Like, it has this, their relationship kind of has this, like, cartoonish effect to it, which is very effective in this like, the setting that we're given,
I very much agree. I see what you're saying, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact of the both more cartoony and comedy roots that One Piece sort of like takes a lot of pride in.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty common that a series will sort of start out comedic, in shonen at least, will like start out comedic and get serious later on.
Right.
I mean, for example, Dragon Ball was basically just to be like an adventure comedy first, and then became like a serious battle shonen. And there's many, 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 many others that basically are like, hey, we're a little goofy manga, and then like, all right, let's go get a little serious. Like, I just started reading a classic Shonen Jump manga called like Otokojuku, and it's like a hard gag manga, but I've heard it's like 1,000 fucking chapters. Apparently, I didn't know this.
That's great.
And apparently, it eventually gets like serious, and I am fascinated to see where that comes, because this is just pure gag manga right now.
Yeah.
Or Gintama is another good example.
Yeah.
But I think One Piece's strength is that it's goofy, and then even in chapter 1,300, where there's a lot more serious stuff going on, it's still goofy.
I appreciate that. That's really cool.
And what's crazy to me is that there are people with like 500,000 subscribers who'll go like, yeah, I didn't like this latest chapter of One Piece. It was kind of goofy. And I was like,
dude.
How are you this far?
Yeah,
how did you make your career talking about One Piece? And then they're like, it's a little too silly.
I don't know, maybe this is just kind of my impression of like the modern media scape in general. I think people are very, not only are people very afraid of like sincerity, but I think there's also kind of this incorrect impression that a piece of media has to be serious or dark or edgy to be impactful. And I'm firmly against that claim. Like, I think, talking a little bit about the inspiration for the title of this podcast, I think Scott Pilgrim is a great example of, like, it's not like a very dark or edgy story, but it's genuinely, like, one of the most impactful things I've ever read or experienced in my life.
I agree with what you're saying completely, and I will say, I think One Piece, when everything is not super edgy and taking itself super seriously, I think it makes the moments where it does hit even harder.
Yes, that's a great point.
Like, obviously, we've not even seen that yet, but, like, when you see, like, someone, like, feel a genuine emotion and, like, cry in the series, I feel like it feels a little different than, like, in Shoulder Leveling, just to make fun of that again.
True. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. I definitely appreciate that.
There's a much more broad emotional spectrum on display in this wonderful series.
That's life. I mean, literally, that is real life. Life is not just, maybe if you're a cool, like, Shadow the Hedgehog fan, maybe for you, life is always edgy, but, like, for the rest of us, life is an emotional spectrum, and I appreciate seeing that reflected in this great piece of art.
Stay calm, Edgelord. They're just wholesome memes.
Exactly.
I think, first of all, I want to say something sassy, which is, like, I'm no longer 13 years old, so I don't need everything to be, like, try to be cool anymore.
Very true.
And the second thing, my last sort of take on Romance Dawn before we move to Orange Town.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of crazy we've not talked about Zoro, like, at all.
That's true.
But honestly, the character I want to talk about most is fucking Helmeppo. Is it crazy that, like, Helmeppo was really, like, effective as a villain this arc?
I mean, I don't think that's a crazy take at all.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever met anyone in my entire life who has, like, said anything about Axehand Morgan. He's kind of generic.
That's true.
But, he was honestly more effective. Like, he was, like, a perfectly serviceable villain. I was, like, not, like, upset with him or anything.
Right.
He's not someone I'm ever gonna, like, buy a figure of.
Exactly.
But, like, Helmeppo genuinely, like, I don't need every character to be, like, likable and cool. Like, I am good. I love a character to be, like, hateable. I love him.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how Helmeppo is, like, this sniveling, like, little brat who immediately just, like, gets under your skin. He's such a little shitter.
Yeah.
And he's like, Daddy, Daddy. But then you immediately get it when, like, he goes and sees his dad, and his dad just, like, hits him and is like, I fucking hate you.
I know.
Like, it humanizes him in a very, like, blunt way, but I think in, like, a pretty effective way where you're like, oh my god, I totally get this guy. Like, I get everything about this, like, guy in, like, 3 chapters of, like, barely being even, like, important at all.
Right. I think, sorry, not to have another crazy pull of another piece of media, but he reminded me a lot of, trying to remember her name. The girl from Willy Wonka that wants the golden egg. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I know exactly what you're saying.
But, I don't know, man. I think, all the things that we're talking about, like, broad emotional spectrum, humor, and impactful moments. I think Helmeppo genuinely has, like, all of those things, which is it's pretty funny for, like, a character that nobody seems to really care about.
I don't want to reveal. Sorry, pivoting away from Helmeppo because I just pulled up the manga. I pulled up my official Shonen Jump app.
Yes.
To sort of go back through some of this just to, like, collect my thoughts again, and I stumbled upon Zoro's flashback. And it's kind of interesting that that's really, like, we just get that, like, right here. It's like, by the way, this is, like, Zoro's whole motivation right here, right now.
I know. I really like that. I really like his flashback. I think it's very interesting, very emotional.
I think the anime did it better, actually. I think the anime, like, just barely makes it, like, the sad music really sells that moment for me.
That's fair.
And I'm like, we really get to see, like, Zoro, like, train, and it's like, it's cute, it's moving.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think these first 2 arcs generally have much fats on them, but I wouldn't mind if Zoro's backstory in particular was given a little bit more room to breathe. But I still thought it was pretty emotionally effective.
I think it's effective for being, like, literally 3 pages long.
Right, exactly.
It's like a Fujimoto short story.
It really is, man. I mean, I think it goes without saying that Zoro is a very cool character.
I mean, he's like... There was a big global One Piece popularity contest. And, like... even to this day, like, number 1 character is Luffy, number 2 character is Zoro. Like, it's just always been that way.
Yeah.
Like, people just love these 2, man.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
It's so funny that I feel like I honestly don't have that much to say about Zoro, though, despite him being, like, such a beloved and popular character.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my biggest takeaway is, like, I definitely understand why he's popular now. Like, he's fun. He's well written. He's interesting. It's
Well,
it's like that meme where it's the fish from SpongeBob, and it's like, why do you like Invincible? And it's like, he's strong and he helps people. That's kind of Zoro here.
Okay, final sort of Romance Dawn wrap up.
Yes.
Your complaints and your predictions. I think that'll be, and then we can move on to Orange Town because I feel like I have a lot to say about Orange Town.
Yes, sounds good. Yeah, I think my predictions, I kind of already mentioned this earlier. But I think Kobe's bound to return. I think Shanks will definitely return. I also have that down that Zoro will end up fighting a Navy swordmaster or some other kind of like Navy higher up, because we didn't really see that here because Zoro is obviously still like a pirate hunter. But I think it'll make kind of a thematic sense if we see him fight a Navy personnel later on.
I think something I really like about Orange Town, once again skipping ahead because I keep talking about it, is that like we see Zoro fight like Act 10 Morgan and just like one shot him because like who cares?
True.
But when he fights Kabaji, is that his name? The guy on like the unicycle?
Yes.
It's really interesting how it's like, okay, this is like a duel between swordsmen. This is like serious. He's like locked in now.
True.
I think there's like a different vibe. Like if Zoro was fighting a man who was like, I'm Pistol Pete, it wouldn't have the same vibe of like, okay, my like pride is on the line. This is like something that matters to me a lot. And I appreciate that Oda like sort of was like, all right, like lock in. This is a duel. This isn't a fight. It's a duel.
Right. I think that's cool.
And then any complaints?
Yeah, once again, I kind of mentioned this early on. Actually, on my report card, I don't really have any complaints at all. I think I kind of needed a little bit more context of the direction the story was going to like have some more critiques. But I think looking back on both the first two arcs, I think my only complaint is that kind of interesting or different characterization of pirates and bandits and what is good or bad in this universe. I think just trying to like look at it a little objectively, I think it's a little bit messy, but I can also understand that that's like kind of the point, you know? I just think personally, for me, I kind of wish it was a little bit more clear or direct, but I can definitely understand why Oda decided not to do that, you know?
I would almost argue that this is Oda sort of like, you know, it's not the destination, it's the journeying us.
I think that's fair, yeah.
Like, we're just kind of like making our way downtown, walking slow, walking fast, and I'm homebound. I think it's just like Oda wants to like, I don't disagree with your complaint at all, just so we're clear.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think it was like more of an intentional choice than a failing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair.
For me personally, my reflections, instead of predictions, I get reflections because I've read this. I was really surprised by Kobe being the like having such great characterization, and Helmeppo. Those were like my two like characters I did not really think about at all. Like thinking back on like this arc of One Piece, or even just one like early One Piece in general. And I was like, wow, I really like these two. These like little weirdos.
True.
And it's a really funny manga, genuinely like funny. I think this is something that all Americans can relate to, but Japanese comedy's kind of hit or miss.
That's fair.
And I was genuinely like, they were doing gags, and I was like, I like sent you a couple screenshots of like, this is funny.
I know, I agree. I think yeah, I mean, I don't want to go on this tangent too much, but I think there's I've seen a lot of videos or think pieces about this recently, actually, about how it takes a really strong creative personality to like make one frame of a comic funny. And there are examples of Oda doing that, which once again just goes to show his strength as an artist in particular.
I'm going to use this as my opportunity to transition into Orange. Oh, actually, before we do, we should have a little segment. We should like say out loud what our rankings for this arc are, even though everyone who's looking at the video instead of just listening can already see what we ranked it.
Yes.
What is your final ranking for Romance Dawn?
I gave Romance Dawn A- arc rating.
I gave Romance Dawn a Let me pull it up. Because I was looking at other panels to talk about those. I gave this a C+.
Yes.
I think it was like acceptable. It was entertaining, but it wasn't anything special.
Fair enough, man.
Once again, I've read a lot of shonen. I've been much more impressed than this.
I think that's totally valid.
But this is the panel I had pulled up instead of my report card because I wanted to use this as my transition. This is like the funniest moment in all of One Piece that we've read so far, which is just the two of them sitting in the ship, shooting the shit. He's like, "What about you? You're supposed to be the holy terror of the seas." And Zoro just goes, "I don't recall ever calling myself that." That made me laugh out loud. I like something in the way he's just like casually leaning, like elbow up against the boat. Yeah. It felt very BLOM for all my Scott Pilgrim heads out there, or very Blom.
It was.
It just like there's something about how casual it is that catches me so off guard. Like I feel like a lot of shonen, that even the ones that are trying to be funny, like even Bleach, which I love, and it does try to be funny. Like I feel like I've never seen a manga have like a gag where it's just like two characters shooting the shit like that. It's so funny.
Yeah, I agree.
That's like the introduction to the arc. Is just Luffy being like, "So you're some kind of badass, right?" And he's like, "Not really."
That is pretty funny.
I gotta say, looking at this arc right now, like this art of them just sitting there.
Yeah.
I love Zoro's outfit so much.
Oh, I agree. It's
this like black pants, weird Mickey Mouse shoes, t-shirt, and like the sash. They even like in the official translation were like, "Oh my god, that's like I forget the Japanese term, like sash." And I was like, "Hey, how do you guys know what that is? I didn't know that y'all know ball like that." That's like a fun example of the Japanese culture like bleeding through.
True.
But it works. It's so simple, but it totally works.
Yeah, I agree. The Mickey Mouse shoes really bring it all together.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like whenever people like who don't know or like One Piece like talk about the like, character designs and the clothes, they're like, everything was cool, but why do they got those damn Kingdom Hearts shoes?
Hey man, I think people are a little bit too hard on the Kingdom Hearts shoes.
I mean, they're charming. I don't know of literally any other manga on Earth that has like the shoes like that. That's like the real like cartoonism that like bleeds through.
True. I mean, Reece, I've got a character design to bring up to you.
Oh.
Maybe you look at this in your off time, but we gotta check out SpongeBob SquarePants shoes. Because I hate to be this guy, but I might be seeing a bit of a similarity here.
SpongeBob SquarePants got the Kingdom Hearts shoes that you're telling me right now.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
dude, I never thought about it, but you're not wrong. I wanna reanimate King of the Hill, but they've all got big ass Kingdom Hearts feet.
I had a dream like that once, actually.
That's a crazy dream.
Hank Hill was like, I tell you what, instead of liking propane, he liked Kingdom Hearts shoes and Kingdom Hearts shoes accessories.
I work at Kingdom Hearts shoes. I sell Kingdom Hearts shoes and Kingdom Hearts shoes accessories.
Exactly, man. And then Zoro came in and he was like, "Can I get a pair of those?"
And then he took off his shoes and wriggled his toes into the camera.
his rant Sona.
We need cartoon rant sonas for this. That's really what's gonna put this little podcast over.
Well, when we get heated, like little like stink clouds like emanate from our feet as we're like scrunching them up as they get sweaty.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that rant sona where it's like a furry Warhammer libertarian?
I have not seen that.
I might need to show you that post podcast because it's low-key the funniest thing I have ever seen in my life.
That sounds brilliant, man.
Also, sorry, I just got reminded of something. Something I wanted to do during this podcast is show you stuff that's like non-manga material that I think was interesting.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I want to pull up specifically is, do you know about the infamous 4Kids dub, right?
I am aware of it, yeah.
One of the absolute greatest moments in the entirety of I've got to find a good picture of this, but one of the greatest things that they ever did is they censored Helmeppo holding a pistol, like because like the Marines just use like guns,
right?
And they did not like that, So I'm going to send you a picture of what they changed Helmeppo holding a pistol to Kobe's head was.
Please tell me it's like a sausage. Dude, what is that thing? Is that like a shower head?
You don't know about the spring-loaded hammer with a trigger? Also, for some reason, they changed his suit from black to purple. Why did they do that? I feel like that had to be at least some effort that was not needed at all.
That's insane, actually. I'm floored by this.
I think that's like the funniest edit they've ever made. They did a lot of in that same image they censored a lollipop from a cigarette, which is so funny.
That is funny.
Oh, this is another one. For some reason, they didn't like when Luffy opened his mouth, so they drew it closed.
What? When? In any particular moments?
Let me send you this picture because it's so fucking funny.
This is genuinely like that Kirby meme where it's like American versus Japanese version, and he's like happy in Japan and then he's angry in the US. Like,
yes.
Why do they hate characters just having a big smile, man? Like, what's the problem?
I can't imagine being the person who's like, we can't have Luffy open his mouth, dude. That's fucked up.
Yeah, I genuinely can't even.
The blood I get, but like, what the hell?
I'm actually as a little side tangent, I'm actually about to be doing some like stuff for my major about like children's entertainments, and I kind of read ahead through some stuff, and they actually do kind of talk about how people were afraid that children would like recreate anything, and they were like worried about sicknesses, but like genuinely these characters open their mouths other times. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know, man. That is pretty funny, though. I appreciate you sharing.
Huh.
Weird.
Very strange. Alright. Back on topic.
Yes. Is it time for arc number 2?
Orange Town is, I think, really One Piece's first, like, real arc. Like, now we're like, this is like a traditional One Piece arc.
Yeah. Okay.
And, we get sort of a fun little villain and his weird little goons. We get like a good emotional moment with that damn dog. And we even get to meet another major character in Nami.
We do. I feel like, personally, I have more to say about Nami than I did Zoro. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I actually feel like... Tell me what you have to say about Nami. What do you have to say?
Nami is a good character.
Wow.
But yeah, sorry, let me dig a little deeper here. I really appreciate that as we're introduced to each of these characters, they're kind of given big personalities to kind of work with and bounce off of Luffy. And I kind of appreciate the, for lack of a better word, like spunk that Nami has and brings to the equation here.
No, I get exactly what you're saying. She does have spunk. She's got a lot of it.
She really does. Yeah, I think it's interesting that she's both like a thief character and a navigator character. I think honestly,
she's got 2 archetypes.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there's two wolves inside her, thief and navigator. But yeah, honestly, I feel like this arc kind of focuses more in on the thief part of her, which is a little bit funny to me, but I like her decently well.
I mean, honestly, I think something I realized just now is, like, I actually don't have that much to say about Nami in this arc. I like her as a, like, sort of, like, she's very openly antagonistic towards Luffy and Zoro at the start. Like, she even's, like, betrays Luffy, like, right off the bat.
Yeah.
But, I do really like how she's, like, this, like, weirdly, like, morally gray, like, shifting in allegiances, like, character. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
They really help keep the narrative flowing in an interesting way. It keeps you on your toes. But honestly, my arc MVP for this was Zoro, man. I thought he was cool.
I agree, man.
Like, I think him being like, oh yeah, I can't cut this cage. I'm just gonna, like, pick it up and leave.
I know.
This was awesome.
That was awesome.
Even though he's, like, bleeding out. And Luffy's like, hey, don't do that. He's like, I don't care. I'm a man.
I know. I think, in terms of feats, Zoro is definitely the undisputed MVP here.
Hell yeah. We gotta become power scalers.
Oh, don't worry, man. That's the end conversation to wrap it up.
Yeah, it's like, hey guys, power scale everyone from weakest to strongest.
Yes. Sorry, I'm gonna jump back to Nami for just a moment, cause
No, go ahead.
my head's kind of turning. The wheels of my head are turning a little bit. I don't even know if you know this about me. This might be a new piece of lore that I'm about to drop. But back in the day, I was actually kind of a bit of a shoujo head back in high school.
Oh. I did not know that at all.
Yeah, and I think something that I'm kind of realizing now is that Nami almost feels more like a shoujo character to me than just a traditional shonen female character, if that makes sense.
Well, as someone who knows nothing about shoujo, please tell me more, because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I think that idea of like the kind of shifty tendencies, like morally gray, keeping you on your toes, from my experience, that's much more of a shoujo aspect than a shonen aspect. I feel like shonen manga or like shonen inspired media tends to have more characters have like pretty firm convictions, and from my experience, shoujo doesn't really have that. I'm gonna pull up like a pretty lukewarm take here, I think, and just talk about Sailor Moon because it's just kind of an easy touch point here to talk about this. But in Sailor Moon, like the Sailor Guardians, especially towards the beginning, are like constantly bickering with each other, and they're they're all on the same side, but I don't know. I'm thinking about like the cast and crew of like, I don't know. I'm just gonna throw out Chainsaw Man as an example. And those characters bicker and argue too, but they're always like pretty objectively, like if you look at Denji, Aki, and Power, they're always like pretty objectively on the same side in the same terms. Where I feel like shoujo characters don't really always have that. And I know that this is like just a microcosm of Nami's character, but I just thought that was kind of an interesting influence.
That is a very interesting observation. I've never watched or read like Nana, but I'm sure if I did, I'd be like pogging my jorts off right now.
That's true. That's true.
See, that's the perspective you're here for. That's why I'm signing your paycheck.
That's true. We put the paycheck amounts on the screen as we talk about this moment.
Look, man, maybe if we get big, we'll start a Patreon. You'll get those big Patreon dollars for the shoujo polls.
I will. We shoujo fans need to stick together, man. You know what I mean? If you
think about it, Scott Pilgrim is a shoujo.
Exactly. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're a shoujo head, drop a I'm a shoujo head in the comments for Wesley. I appreciate that.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell.
Yeah, ring the bell. Show that editor. Editor, I say, you're dropping that clip of Mr. Krabs, like, ringing the bell right now. Ring that bell.
I'm gonna do that, like, shitty Sailor Bell sound effect that every YouTuber uses.
Dude. I mean, it makes...
Ring the bell. Ding.
Yeah, it's One Piece, man. They better... If we ever watch the anime, they better be putting that in the 4Kids adaptation. that bell sound effects.
That would be amazing. Yes.
Sorry, I feel like we spiraled out of control a little bit here.
We did. Oh, I liked your Nami. I really liked your Nami analysis because honestly, when I was thinking back on this arc, despite Nami being like kind of very important, I really wasn't like thinking that much about her.
Yeah.
Despite her like this being a very good showing for her.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the topic of like female characters and female representation in shonen is like a huge topic of discussion, but honestly, I don't think there's really anything necessarily to really dive that deep into here. Like, I agree. I think she has a good showing here. She's characterized well. She has feats. Maybe not as many feats as Zola, but she's got feats.
I forgot about. I was gonna mention Zolo. That's such a funny translation, Shonen Jump. Why are you doing this? Just say Zoro. Just say Zoro, man.
True. You gave your arc MVP. My arc MVP was the dog.
I was gonna say my favorite moment of this arc is the dog just that one goddamn Shiba Inu story that everyone knows and everyone cries about? Yes.
True.
Is it still incredibly effective. Yes.
True.
Like, as I said in my complaints section, not to jump ahead, like, I think this arc's maybe a little too blunt, a little too simplistic to be, like, great. But the dog moment, genuinely, I was like, man, yeah, this dog. And I mean, my favorite art, just to get all my like report card things out of the way.
Yeah.
My favorite like art moment was like, oh god, what was the guy with the weird like, the like lion tamer guy? What was his name?
I don't remember.
Was he Kabaji? Who's Kabaji? I know the lion's name's Richie.
True. Let me pull up my Shonen Jump official Shonen Jump TM trademark app real quick. And,
Moji. It's Moji.
Oh yes.
Thank you, One Piece Wiki. But yeah, like him just being like, yeah, I'm gonna like punch this dog. I don't care. Let's beat him up, Richie the lion. And then Luffy just like punches him as hard as he physically can into the ground. It works so well. Like that is like the best moment of the arc, honestly. It's like that whole like section.
I agree.
In fact, I would even say it's a criticism that like the most emotional catharsis we get in this arc is like Buggy's random like shitter friend. His first mate, just like Luffy one-shots him. Like, I feel like it should have been Buggy who's doing all that.
I think that is a fair critique, honestly.
But, I mean, it is such a great way to, like, immediately kind of, like, lock us into, like, alright, enough fun in games. Luffy's getting punching.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, I just love the expression Luffy has as he's walking around and sees the, building burning down, and then my favorite moment was when he says that, that's why I came to clobber you. It just has so much emotion to it. It's a great moment.
I think like Luffy's not someone who's like a hero. He's not someone obsessed with like justice, but he definitely is someone who like will get enraged when he sees like someone being wronged.
Right. Exactly.
And I mean, my favorite moment was like him setting that dog, basically like going up to the dog after he beat him up and being like, "Look, man, like I saved you one little dog, like shoot like food."
Yeah.
I thought that shit was very sweet.
I agree. It does a lot.
And like, there's a reason that's the moment where Nami starts to be like, "Wait a minute, maybe this guy isn't evil." It's like that's just such a good like it gets you in the feels.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know, man. I think that is like the best section of the arc. Is just like random Moji and Richie tearing up the town, and then just Luffy knocking the ever-loving god out of it. Like, holy god, it's awesome.
It is awesome. I agree, man. 100%.
But despite that, I don't know, man. Zoro is just cool in this arc. Like, I think the sort of speaking of the other of Buggy's associates, Kabaji. Like I mentioned this earlier, but the fact that like Zoro's like, now this is a duel, I gotta take this seriously. And even though he's like bleeding out, he like when he cuts himself even further, and he's like, I want to make this an even fight. I was like, ooh.
Let's make this an even fight.
Exactly. And it worked. I don't know, man. I think like Zoro was just like, he was the exact right like cool straight man, tough guy that he needed to be, and it really made this arc for me. You know, I don't want to give away too many opinions, but like, I mean, Zoro's cool and everyone likes him, but I think like these are the moments in which I appreciate him most.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I definitely agree.
We haven't really talked about Buggy. I guess, hey, this is the first other devil fruit we've seen. What did you think of that?
Oh, true. I don't want to be like reading comprehension. Like, I don't want to come off as an idiot here, but I don't think that Buggy's devil fruit abilities are fleshed out to the extent that I wish they were.
Interesting. What do you mean by that?
So from my understanding, his ability is simply that he can separate his limbs and then control them separately.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the rules of how that ability works a little bit. Like, this is a very minor nitpick because honestly, I don't think it didn't really impact me that much. But like, the rules of how that works, because like some of his limbs are like floating around and stuff. They can kind of like squeeze through things in some situations, and then they can't. Like when Nami ties them up, that kind of stuff. And then like he also has Buggy Ball's abilities, it seems like. So I think his power set is not as fleshed out as I would have liked, but that is all to say that like he is explicitly like a clown character, and I think that if anything, the fact that there's like minor inconsistencies in his powers actually is like pretty effective for the kind of character he is.
I think it's definitely a very weird power to introduce as like the second devil fruit ever. It's like, oh yeah, he can like separate all his body parts and have them fly around for some reason. They at least established the rule of like, oh, his feet have to stay planted on the ground, which is like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like a great like puzzle fight or interesting or anything. Like they technically outsmart him to beat him, but like they also just like I remember there's like one time where like they just like hit him in his hand and he's like, ow, my hand, and I'm like, oh, what's stopping you from just like punching all of his body parts?
Exactly.
Like I mean, obviously this is like the most shitterest of shitter pirates.
Right.
It doesn't really matter. Like he's not supposed to be like this like overwhelming challenge. It's just very interesting that this is like what like devil fruits are basically being like introduced to us as. It's like it's Luffy with his gum power.
Right.
And then it's the flying floating man.
True. I think.
I mean, but it was fun how he used it. Like I remember where like Luffy sent a big kick his way, and then he like detached his head. I was like, oh, come on, that's fun.
Yeah. There's that moment when like his body parts come together, and it's just like a little head walking around. That was pretty funny and effective.
That was very funny. That's good Oda humor.
True.
I think he was an effective enough villain. I like how he's kind of like a giant scumbag. Like there's that one. I actually almost put this as my favorite art moment.
Yeah.
But let me pull up my camera gallery. But there's that moment where he's like, do it. And he's like, no, blow him up to pieces. And he's like, oh, like there's like really good hatching on his face.
Yes.
I'll send you it on right now if you want. If you don't know what I'm talking about.
I think I know what you're talking about, but send it over. Let me take a look. Oh yes, I love this moment.
Yeah, I think like he's like effective but goofy.
Yeah,
like he's clearly like a bad guy, but he's not like he's in that same panel. He's like making a big funny face.
True.
Like I think he's a villain who like walks an interesting line between like silly and serious that I think is like pretty effectively done.
Yep, I think that's very fair. I mean, the fine line between serious and goofiness seems to be One Piece's MO at this point. So I think like having a villain that's explicitly like that is pretty effective.
I couldn't agree more. Well, honestly, I don't think I have much else to say about Orange Town. Do you?
I have one thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about the campaign to get Buggy in Mortal Kombat?
I have not. Why on earth would anyone want that?
I genuinely have no clue, but I promise
That's really
you,
funny.
Yeah, I will. I'll try to find an article. It might take a second, but I'll send it over to you. Like, in Mortal Kombat 1, Buggy's one of those characters that, like, through cultural osmosis, I had like seen him before, and people were saying like, there's this whole thing where it's like, which killer clown do you want in Mortal Kombat? And everybody was saying like, we want Buggy in Mortal Kombat.
That's so funny. That's awesome.
I know. Yeah, I just thought that was a funny little
That's an awesome... Thank you so much for telling me that. What the hell?
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mortal Kombat / One Piece fans.
I know.
And honestly, I would play him. Are you kidding me?
I mean, genuinely, he would be, he'd be very unique in the cast. Like, I wouldn't be complaining, but I just think it's kind of funny.
It's very funny. Huh. Well, to wrap up my my report card,
Yes,
the flashback was a lot of fun. The Buggy flashback, especially now that I have like the full series context.
Mm-hmm.
It was very fun, which I won't say what that means, but it's just really cool to see like everything that's being set up there and like whatnot.
Yeah,
I mean, getting Shanks reintroduced already is so cool. You're like, oh hey, like this world feels connected.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that was cool.
It's just funny. Like, there's that really funny scene in which, like, Luffy, like, the mayor's like, I'm gonna go fight Buggy, and then Luffy just, like, grabs the mayor's head and rams it in, like, a building.
True.
That was funny. That was good. And, like, I felt like that was good characterization of Luffy kind of just being, like, someone who's, like, pretty blunt.
Yeah, I agree.
And, I think the only complaints I had, I didn't mention this last time, but in, for Romance Dawn, I sort of felt like Zoro went from pirate hunter to pirate a little too easy. I didn't mention that, but like it's kind of crazy. He's like, yeah, I hate pirates. Oh, whatever, I'll join you. Whatever.
Yeah.
And my complaints for this one are it just feels, and I'm spoiled because I know what One Piece is going to become and like how it's going to like really refine itself.
Right.
But this just kind of feels like it's like going through the general beats of what a One Piece arc should be instead of like truly being great on its own. You know.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Like, I think we sort of just go into, like, okay, go into the town, meet a quirky side character, have an emotional moment, villain done.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think any part of it... And, like, I'm glad that it's quick, because I think this honestly was not an arc that would be... If this arc was longer, it wouldn't have been helped. There's not enough, like, interesting moving pieces for that.
Yeah.
It feels so rough. It feels, like, so unrefined compared to what I know One Piece can be.
Yeah. That's very fair, man.
And what about you? What are your reflections and complaints? Or your predictions and complaints?
Yeah, my let me see. Written down, I have well, my predictions and complaints are kind of tied together. Just going back to that point of like, we don't really see a lot of pirate debauchery. Like we do see, I'd say that's kind of rectified a little bit with Buggy, but he's almost kind of like he's such a cartoonish villain that I feel like the gravity of like what an evil pirate is still not really there for me yet. But once again, we talked about that a little bit, so won't go into detail there. But yeah, I definitely think that we'll see Buggy again. Obviously, I think somehow Luffy will get a new hat or get it replaced. And just doubling down, I definitely think Shanks will return. The fact that we've seen he's been a presence in both arcs definitely makes me think that we'll see him again.
I think that's very fair. I think that's very, very fair.
Yes, sir.
For what it's worth, I will say, like, I mean, like, I think it's interesting that your complaint is like, oh, I don't know if like pirates seem like evil enough when like like Buggy's literally like torturing people for fun.
That's true. That's true.
But I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying.
Yeah. I think it's just like the tone is just not fully there for me yet. But you're definitely right that like they do show the action, so.
Well, it's still like in that lighthearted way. Like you know, like, you don't like take it when he blows up like 10 houses the buggy ball. You're not like, oh my god, no.
Right.
The horror.
Exactly.
I guess my final thing is what is your arc ranking?
Yes, my arc rating for the Orangetown arc is another A-.
For me, it's a big C+ again. I think it was good, it was competent, but I don't think it was anywhere like great.
Fair enough. We've got some consistent ratings.
Oh yeah, I think that kind of shows that we're both enjoying it, and I think like Oda sort of has like the fact that he's keeping the ship steady is a good sign.
Yes, I agree.
I think this is a point that's been brought up a lot on like Shonen Twitter.
Yeah.
But if One Piece had gotten this far in like the modern landscape, people would be like, "This is the worst manga ever. Like nothing's happened in the past 20 chapters."
That's true.
And I think many people made the joke that like One Piece definitely would have been axed. It would not have gotten to like go as long as it did. Like,
Yeah,
and I don't know if I disagree.
That's true.
I despite all of the good things we said about it, I could definitely see One Piece getting like the Shonen Jump editors getting a little antsy and just like immediately trying to cut it.
Yeah, exactly. I see what they mean.
Well, anything else to say?
I don't believe so, man. I think this was a great discussion.
Well, that concludes episode 1 of the Monkey D. Luffy vs. the World podcast. I'm Reece. This is Wesley.
Yes, sir.
And next episode, however long this takes, we'll be conquering the Syrup Village arc.
I'm very excited.
I'm very excited to see what you have to say about this. And I'm very excited to be tempted to purchase the Legos of early One Piece now that we've been rereading.
True. We might have to have a Lego-specific episode in the future.
We'll do an entire episode of us just building, like, the, like, $500 Baratier set.
Yes. Agreed.
Well, yeah, I'll see you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed. Ring that bell.
Ring that bell.
Ring that bell. The One Piece is the subscribe button.
Yes.